I made it! I was making such good time trying to get here for the first tour of the day until I got onto the last road where I got behind the slow car. Bought my ticket with 2 minutes to spare, so let's get on in. Okay, you guys, this is the scary part, as some of you know. Elevators are not my thing, but this is gonna be worth it.
A few minutes later.
Made it!
We're going to be going through a couple of airlock doors, and we'll actually go through another one of those when we exit the cave today. We're just going to kind of walk in slow to the cave and go down to a little seating area, okay? We'll bring up some more lights once we get to the seating area.
Okay, you guys, the camera is not doing this justice at all, but look at this. Oh, I just saw a bat fly down there.
Okay, so this is our cathedral room. It is approximately 4 football fields in length. We refer to this as our giant hall. It's 65 feet tall from the floor to the ceiling. When we get down over here, we're gonna stop and it's gonna look totally different. You may see some bats on our tour today that kind of like to come up out of the room over to your left. When you see blue lights on the tour today, the blue lights are representing passageways to other rooms. The draperies are 55 feet from the top to the bottom. The layout of this cave, we refer to it, if we compare it to a 3-story building. And there are 3 levels. And right now, we're in the attic of the cave. The second tour that we're hoping to open up is going to be the Discovery Tour. And it's going to encompass what we refer to as the living room and the basement. It goes on levels 2 and 3.
You see that little kind of half circular light up there? That's that bridge that we entered on. That might give you guys a little bit more of a depth of the room. Oh, look at that, you guys. There's some stalactites with coral on them. All sorts of stuff in here, and this isn't even my favorite trail.
Here's our column from the other side. It looked like just a little narrow column standing there. To me, this is like cloud watching. I can see a different thing every time I come through. I can see something different and beautiful that is like, I never noticed that before. But a lot of times on the formations themselves, you may see things and think, oh, it looks like this or it looks like that. And we're going to have different things that we can see as we go through.
The guide just told me that they have over 900 feet of continuous flowstone in this cave.
Continuous formation, 900 feet. No place else in North America has that down there.
Whoa, look at how white that is. That is some pure, sparkly stuff right there.
We're going to start off looking to your right. I've been told that there's about 20 miles of wire running to all the lights in this cave.
This one here, he thinks that is an audience. And they're in the balcony. Those are the $100 seats. You got curtains upstairs and pillars, and they're all bunched up waiting to hear your feet. That is pure calcite in the most pure form. You got a little bit of color right there. It's pure white.
Yeah, you see a slab feature that has fallen and landed on a shelf. We do call that the battleship. That was what they felt like it looked like. This room, if you'll notice, you can't see all the way back to the seat yet from here, but if you'll notice, as you look on that wall opposite from the left to the right, just a continuous amount of formation. This is the longest continuous group of gravitational.
Now, I know this isn't impressive on video, but it is impressive geographically. It is a huge wall of coral, so yeah, I'm making you guys look at it. That is insane how far that goes down. I've seen more bats today than I have all year, and I love it. Whoa, look at that.
The Forest Service was very forward-thinking when they were designing this cave. They wanted it to be accessible to everyone. So for us to put up stairs to get up to that natural opening, it's a lower ceiling. It appears to have that nice cathedral ceiling, that nice arch ceiling, but we were told that it's not a very stable area. And not only that, it was going to encompass a lot of stairs. And what's that going to do? It's going to disqualify folks in handicapped folks in wheelchairs. And how about baby strollers? So you're really discounting a lot of the population. This is the people's cave. We want everyone to be accessible. So it was determined at one point, let's go ahead and put that tunnel in, and it's a 270-foot tunnel, and that's affording everyone an opportunity to see this beautiful cave.
So let's go and go through our man-made 270-foot
calcite. And we don't know whether this happened when they did that dynamite and a crack was formed there, but you have a bedding plane here. You have a hard shale here, that's probably some sandstone up there, I don't think that's any iron in there. And then you have limestone. Limestone is very porous and it dissolves very easily in that solution. So it's probably a bedding plane or a crack there. And I can tell you as I stand here that formation is 60 years old. And we are right now 141 feet below the surface. I know that for a fact. That shaft is 141.
It's called the solution tube right there. And this room is called the coral room. There's some pretty neat rimstone on the top of that little formation.
While we take a little break here, there's a few things that I want to talk to you while we're on this stuff. One of them goes back to this beautiful calcite crystal that we're talking about. And it's been handled a lot, so it's got a little bit of discoloration on it, but you can see the white. But it's heavy. 3 times the weight or the mass of water. A gallon of milk weighs 8 pounds. So if I fill the milk jug with this, it's going to be 24 pounds.
So use your imagination. You're looking at what we call the coral, and many people correlate that with a skin dive beneath the surface of the ocean. What I see a scene from New York State, where I go skiing. You got that ski slope right there. This is the cliff edges where all the great big icicles come down. I guess you can even call them icicle curtains for better, not for better word. So that's what I see.
You can just see different things anywhere. That's why to me I just equate this to cloud watching. I can see something different every time I come in. Another major feature in this area, what is that?
I can certainly smell what it is.
Pizza?
Yes. But this room used to be frequented by bats much more often. You'll notice above this spot over here, see the ceiling's kind of flat, but it's rough. It gave the bats a good place to hold on to. But there was a sinkhole, and they caved in and filled in, and so there was a natural opening there. Bats don't like to fly a long way to get out of this cave. So it's believed that they stopped using this cave to hibernate in, this part of the cave to hibernate in, because the natural opening was closed off to them. Okay, so this is called the soda straw room, and a lot of that has to do with the types of formations that you see out in there. You see the little, looks like really small icicles hanging off the ceiling. It's also believed that this is another location that was possibly been a natural hindrance for the bats to get back into the other area that we were in. And when this area was discovered, you see these little pieces right here where the tips are broken off. And it's believed that that rush of gravel coming in knocked those little tips off. When they started doing this room, this whole area was covered with this kind of gravel. You'll see there's still gravel over here in this area, but where you're standing, there was a large pile of gravel, almost, they say, up to the ceiling as they were developing this part of the cave. And so that gravel had rushed in here from somewhere, believed to have been another natural opening. Then when that natural opening was closed off, then again, the bats didn't want to use this area quite as much.
And folks, take a look at all the tips of these features here. These are the soda straws. Soda straws are how about 95% of stalactites begin their life cycle. And they grow longer and longer, and if you look at the tips of them, they're all bright white. They all have drops coming off of them. We're only about 80, 90 feet below the surface, hence that's why we get a lot of hydration down here.
We get to ride a bus back to the parking lot. So right now everyone's wiping their shoes across this little mat. What this does is to help remove any of the white nose syndrome, if there is any. There's my hair. And get it extra well, because you never know if I'm going to go in another cave with those shoes. Oh, but I didn't go through the wild cave tour. Should I get it anyway? Got bats? I like that. And yeah, the little town we're in is called 56. I love the naming of some of the towns around this area. Oh, I'm kind of feeling like I need this. Look at that, he's so cute. Oh, there we go. I can get this one now, and if I ever do go to the wild cave tour, then I'll get that one. I love this. They have an exhibit hall, you guys. That's so pretty. Oh, this is cool. They have a diorama. There's the Path of the cave from above. And that's the dripstone trail that we just went on. And the discovery trail that we're going on as soon as it reopens. And there's a little box so you can practice your belly crawls. Batses. Oh, let's see, I'm a little bit rusty on my bat facts, but I think this is 10 times its weight. 3,000 mosquitoes a night. That doesn't tell me if I was right or wrong. I'll have to look it up. No. Oh, I was wondering what that kind of bird was just the other day. It's an indigo bunting. I saw one in Dad's yard. There's an Indiana bat. The Indiana bat is Myotis sodalis. And the gray bat is Myotis crescens. I don't know why I always remember that. I guess I just like the word. It's just fun to say, Myotis crescens. Aside from the pin, I did find one more thing that I just had to purchase. It's something for the Catmobile. Now, I'm not going to put it on there yet because I need to wash the car, but I'll just show you guys a little simulation. Whoa! That was Blanchard Springs Cave, you guys. My absolute favorite. It is still just as impressive as it ever was. As for now, the turnoff that I passed a while ago was about 8 miles from Leslie. Should I? Yes. Yes, I should. They didn't have any of the plum cake ready. It was going to be about an hour, so today I got the pear tart. I also got some more of the artichoke focaccia, but this is new, so I'll show that off. Portobello focaccia. Speaking of funny town names, we are now in Big Flat. This town has always cracked me up. I've already passed the Big Flat City Park, the Big Flat Senior Center, and the Big Flat Baptist Church. I wish they had a tire store. If we turned right here, we'd be passing right through Yaleville! Sorry about that. You guys know me, though. If there's an opportunity for a good cheesy joke, I am not gonna pass that up. Okay, one more place. Since this was closed last time I passed through this way, I couldn't pass it by. Rocks and coffee? Yes, please. Not that I need any more rocks. Ooh, they have tea. I'll take a look at the stuff outside first. They have some quartz down here. I need to go back to Mount Ida sometime pretty soon, or Hot Springs, and dig for some of these. I'm running out. I've always loved these little carved onyx animals, and look at this. They have a kitty cat, and I like the way that their vines are draped over the ceiling. It's pretty cool. Here's a better view of the inside. Octopus. See, this is why I dig for my own crystals. That size right there, $32. I mean, it's gorgeous. Oh, some rutilated quartz. That's pretty. If you don't know what rutilated quartz is, let me shine one up to the light here. See all that little stuff in it? That's called cleavage, and that's what makes it rutilated. It's probably the worst explanation ever, but there you have it. Okay, so one mineral. I could have done a lot worse, and look at this. Can you guys see how shiny that is? I also got an iced tea. This is a black tea with pomegranate and passion fruit. Thank you so much for coming with me. I cannot stress how excited I was to do this cave. And I get to go back in a few weeks. They're opening the Discovery Trail. Why am I sitting here in the car without air conditioning on, you guys? Jeez. Anyway, that's gonna do it. I'll see you next time. It's awfully dark out today, but I'm okay with that. It's only gonna get darker here in a few minutes. Sun, where we're going, we don't need sun. I got here early today, so I have time to play around a little bit more. Oh, look at that, you guys. They have a bat house out there. Didn't notice that a couple of weeks ago. There's a few bat houses. There's another one. I hope you guys can hear the audio in there, by the way. I'm not used to wearing one of these for a video anymore. One bad thing about arriving early. I have more time to dread the elevator, you guys. Look at that. They put one of those little shoe wiping mats at the entrance, too. I like that. Here we go, guys. The dripstone was the one we went on a couple of weeks ago. Today, it'll be the Discovery Trail.
We're just gonna wait for everyone to get in here. I'm gonna go over some rules and tips for the tour. Now this tour is going to be an hour and 40 minutes long, so if you do need to go to the bathroom, go now.
Okay, the scary part is over. Made it through the elevator again. That one is a lot longer than the last one. Just like the other trail, we have an airlock to get in there. And it turns out the elevator just seemed longer because I hate elevators. Does this look familiar to you guys? We're back in the cathedral room. Formation's very close to the trail in this cave. We saw the other side of this one a couple of weeks ago. Pretty gorgeous from here. Some limestone.
So this is what we call our discovery room. We call it the discovery room because it was the room that led to the discovery of our cathedral room that we descended down through. This room is one of the largest in Denver, but it isn't the largest. It's 100 feet by 100 feet by 100 feet. It's a pretty big room. People come into a room and they see a large flat ceiling like this, they start getting a little nervous. Because large flat ceilings, they're supporting a lot of weight and they're not in very good shape to support that weight. So they're more prone to breaking and fall. Now the really cool thing about this layer of limestone is that it was laid down in one solid bunch. So it's essentially a solid rock that's pushing up on the ceiling and supporting all of the ground above us. Now today we're going to be mostly in a layer of limestone called platinum limestone. It looks like this. There's a lot more bones and layers, and that's because it was made of lots of little layers. Now, when you see layers of rock, that's marking different points in time. Some layers are fairly large and thick, others can be a little bit thinner.
This is one of those places I really wish I had a better camera. But even if I did, it wouldn't do it justice. Wish I could have gotten a good shot of this room from the top. Awfully dark in here, but those lights, those are illuminating probably the biggest breakdown pile I've ever seen.
These are actually the sticks that the original explorers would have used to build small fires to cook their food on. So as we move through the cave, we'll be going through large rooms, and from there are passageways. We have different names for different passageways depending on how they were formed. If you see a nice round formation that almost looks like a tube, kind of like this one that we're seeing half of right here, this is called a phreatic tube. Phreatic tubes are where there's water gushing through the rock like pipe. And it forms a very round, cylindrical passageway. But sometimes, depending on what's going on with the rocks surrounding that passageway, as the water carves its way down through the passageway, it will actually begin to eat away at the sides or change, and it will create different types of passageways. Like this one, these walls are called Vados canyons. Vados canyons is where instead of one large tube of water rushing through, there's actually a stream that's eating away at the floor. First of all, what do you guys think this is? This is actually a hibernation colony, so they'll roost down here in the winter time. What they do, they poop down to the floor. And that poop, it gets a fungus that grows on it. That fungus kind of looks like cotton candy. It doesn't taste like cotton candy, but it is the food source for the cave. We have little bugs and critters that come in and eat that fungus on. Alright guys, what's this called?
Graffiti.
Graffiti. Now, can you see some of the dates? 56, 62? It's old graffiti. You know what we call old graffiti? We call it history. So if someone was to come down here and spray paint the walls now, first of all, they'd be arrested. Second of all, we'd come down and we'd clean off the walls. Now this area that we're standing in right now is called the campground. Now this campground, it's fairly high up. You can actually hear the streams down below us. But it was high up so they knew it wouldn't flood. It's fairly dry so they wouldn't get wet. So they would actually sleep here at night. And during the day, they would get up and they would explore throughout the cave.
I can hear the water coming up. Oh, that water is gorgeous, you guys. I don't know if you guys can see them, but they found a salamander down there. This is the only place on the trail you can see some natural sunlight.
A long time ago, there was this layer of terra rosa that was actually on the surface. And over time, it seeped into the cave. Now, this terra rosa clay is really light, it's silky. Ooh, maybe we have that flying around. So a long time ago, there would have been a clay bank right here. And then eventually that clay bank washed out all the way down here. So now that secondary formation is left free hanging. Now this isn't a true stalactite because true stalactites have to be hanging from the ceiling and not connected to the wall. These are actually just called shells, but we do have a true stalactite right there. Welcome to the salamander pool. We call this a salamander pool because occasionally we'll see salamanders in here. Cave salamanders will actually go in and out of the cave, and they'll feed outside and in the cave. Now a true cave salamander, or troglodyte, is called a troglodyte. And that one is really pretty. It's silvery white, sometimes it even looks a little pink or purple. That's because it has no pigmentation. Most of the time when you're down here in this cave, there's no light down here. So you don't really see other animals or other critters. So there's no reason for them to have any kind of pigmentation that warns away other critters like that bright orange one, or to hide in their surroundings. This is actually called the brimstone dam. This is one of the largest ones that we have in this cave. This one right here is kind of deceptive. It looks really tall, but it's really only about 1.5 feet deep. But that back one is the interesting one. That one is about over 2 feet tall. So it's pretty interesting. You can see they're almost straight across because they're at the same level as the water. In the spring when we get a lot of rainfall, actually you can see this fill up all the way and overflow, filling these smaller pools sometimes.
Oh, I hope I get a good shot of this one. It's pretty.
Alright guys, so we're going to start in what we call the wind tunnel. Now this wind tunnel isn't natural to the cave. See, in this area, the explorers got here and they saw a giant formation blockade. Formation blockades are where there's an open passageway that secondary formations begin to form in and eventually close up. Now the explorers managed to wiggle their way through a different passageway right here. This is the original wind tunnel. It's very narrow and very hard to get through, and on the other side it's even scarier. So when they started bringing tours down here, they're like, we need a different way to get people through here because we can't have people crawling through that original wind tunnel. So what they decided to do was to actually blast out that formation blockade and make another tunnel up here. Now nowadays, this is blasphemy. You'd never be able to do this these days. It was back in the 70s, and it was before a lot of the preservation. Welcome to the Christmas tree room. We call it the Christmas tree because look down there. We got all the Christmas tree. Now down here in this hole right here, that's the lowest point in our cave. It's somewhere around 380 to 400 feet below the surface. Now you guys may have noticed this trail of lights across here. This is the original passageway to get through this room. When the trouble came right here, if you were a particularly large man, you would actually have to climb on the outside of this formation right here. That's about 60 feet down, a little deceptive. Right here, it's close to 80. The original explorers, they had what we call carbide lights. Now those lights couldn't see very far, maybe 20 feet. So when they were looking down here, they couldn't see all of this below them. They pretty much could see a little void, maybe a glimpse of these formations down here. But they didn't know how deep it was. A while ago, one of our guides took a guy on tour who had actually been one of the explorers mapping out this section of the cave. And he said that they used to eat their lunch right there on that ledge, dangling their feet over, and they had no idea how far down it was. The largest calcite formations in North America. It's 160 feet long, about 40 feet tall, and about 30 feet back towards that little passageway in the rock right there. That passageway is about half a mile long, but it's very narrow. There's not much going on back there. But it acts as the source of water for this entire flow zone. The bats will hang out in this area in the wintertime and in the early spring. And the bats that hang out in here are mostly male bats and female bats that haven't had any cubs. They really like that hole for some reason. So there's a lot of bat going on, a lot of roosting spots going on right there.
This one they call the redwood stump. Doubt you guys can hear the guide. This group is pretty loud today. But as you can tell, this is a formation that has at one point fallen over.
Along the walls here, we have a formation called cave popcorn. This is a really cool formation because it's formed when water sprays off of something and little droplets stick to the wall forming a crystal. It's also, it goes by the name cave coral, and like the coral underneath the ocean, it is kind of sharp, so you don't want to touch it. Another reason not to touch this particular formation is because this isn't a pure calcite formation. It actually has gypsum in it. Gypsum is the same stuff that you find in your drywall. It's a very dense, very light, and easily broken mineral. It's kind of like chalk. When it gets deposited on these formations, it's very light and thin, so it's easy to break. If you touch this stuff, it just disintegrates. So this is called ghost room. When it first came to the room, they saw that formation, they're like, oh, you can definitely tell that there's a big difference between that barren, tree-level passageway and barren area, and this upper level passageway, which is had time and water in order to form these formations.
There's another fallen down formation right there. Well, guys, that was it. The Discovery Trail. My favorite trail on one of my favorite caves. And that tour that we were just on was the first one that they've had in 3 years. I had to be on it. The only thing about going on that first tour, it was filled to capacity, you guys. I like this trail here. I figured while I was here, I would show you guys why this is called Blanchard Springs Caverns. Here we are at the springs. And here's what I just had to walk across to get that shot. You're welcome. I don't know what kind they are, but I found some mushrooms. Decided to stop by one more place before going on home. Unfortunately, this is one of those caves that I won't be able to show you guys. It's been closed for years. But I figured I at least wanted to show you guys what was above ground and just go check it out. I imagine there'll be some no trespassing signs once we get down there. Maybe the road will be closed off, but we're gonna find out. For being close this long, the road is actually not that bad. Kind of like the one getting down to Dad's. Am I lost? I think I might be lost, you guys. The road did fork a couple of times. It's been 25 years since I've been to this cave, and I have no idea if I took the right direction. So this little excursion just might be a bust. Anyway, thanks for coming along, you guys. There's some chickens. I don't know what I'm doing next week, but I hope to see you then. Now let's see if I can find my way out of here. You know, I guess it wouldn't be a cat at large video if I didn't get lost at least every once in a while. I think we're about back to the highway though. Oh crap. How many caves can you start off the video with a shot like that, you guys? Of course, I had to stand there waiting for 7 minutes, holding the camera while the trams went by and people stared at me like an idiot the whole time. But it was worth it. I got the shot. I hope. This is very appropriate for today. The cave is the oldest part of this park after all, by a few million years. Here's a little preview of what we're going through. Tall Man's Headache. You guys, I just noticed that sign down there. That is at least 20 years old. Those cave guides on it are people that I worked with back in the day. There's their warning sign. Definitely take this seriously if you come here. It is the most strenuous cave tour that I can think of. And the little pre-show area there. I love how they built the railing. When I was here, it was just a bench. When you were standing up there talking, kids would jump up on there with you all the time. I love this. They have a bat wall. We're heading on down toward the photo platform right now. Now this is where we used to take group photos back in the day. I've always loved this little mural. How many hidden things can you guys see? There's one. There's a couple of them over there. Imagine trying to fit 60 people on that little platform. It was not fun. Right now they've limited the tour down to 45, which is awesome. And the old stage where the photographer stood. Here we go. This is probably the best view of the sinkhole. With roller coaster noises in the background. And here's the kind of stairs that we're going down. Pretty steep. Oh, whole lot of them. Another view of the sinkhole from the next landing. We're going about 50 stories down. Not all at once. Getting closer. Can start to feel that cave air. Don't see any bats. Sometimes there used to be bats hanging on the ceiling right here next to the entrance.
Welcome to Martha Cave. But this room is the cathedral room. 411 feet long, over 200 feet wide, and over 200 feet deep. So we could fit a 20-story building, a city block wide, in just this room. But one cool spring day, an Osage hunting party was chasing a bear through the woods. They'd already wounded him and they were determined to take him down when he suddenly charged for the top of Rock Mountain and disappeared. One young brave thought if he sent his barking dog down inside the hole, it would spook the bear back out. The dog jumped in the hole barking at the bear, so the bear lunged for the dog, and then that means the brave lunged for the bear with his knife. And all three went tumbling down into a dark abyss. Eventually, as darkness started to settle over the mountains, suddenly thousands and thousands of dark shadows emerged out of this misty cave like a black tornado. And that was enough for the Osage. But we give them credit. As they saw those dark shadows flying out of this cave, a few decided those were evil spirits and started calling it the Devil's Den. Well, of course, we know those were not evil spirits. They were bad. But there's a reason we call it the cathedral room, and I could use your help to figure this out. Now, I do something different than the other guys because I'm too bad. All right, let's warm up a little bit. Are you ready? Oh, I'm in good shape. All right, here I hear it. I've got to go. All right, let's get loud. Here we go.
Now, back in the day, we used to play a game where we would hide a little toy in the cave. In my day, it was a little wrestling finger puppet. We called him the Hipless Wonder. I found a Parasaurolophus. I have to wonder if they're still playing that game. Right now, we're on the switchback part of the trail, climbing down the debris pile. You'll notice that I said debris pile instead of breakdown. That's because a lot of this stuff is not actually breakdown. It's just fallen in the sinkhole over the years.
They brought all the parts and pieces down into this room, launched that balloon in 1963 to set the world's first underground altitude record for flying. Guys, I want you to look up at that tower because in 1894, it wasn't there. Where the steel tower is, well, that's where they installed a 70-foot long wooden ladder. This eventually became so massive, it broke from the ceiling, fell to the floor, and cracked. Like that famous Pennsylvania monument it's named after. If you know what I'm talking about, yell it out. The Liberty Bell. We call them a column. That'll help you remember. However, if you go in other parts of the country, they may also refer to a column as a pillar, but not in the Ozarks. A pillar is what we lay our head on at night. And we named this beautiful column the Sentinel. And we think it makes sense because if you look around the room, you'll realize the Sentinel is guarding over this room as the only supporting structure of the entire ceiling. Pay no attention to that crack at the top. I know. And over there is a very alluring passage. The kids always want to go down it. Unfortunately, it gets smaller, and gets closer when the feet is so long. So we call it Disappointment Passage.
It doesn't actually end in a wall. It looks like it until you get to a certain point, but it kind of slopes upward, and there's a little mouse hole. There's a light out here. 20 years, and I can still tell. We're in the Serpentine Passage right now. I always love this little hallway. They call it Serpentine because it serpents around. One time in here, a bat was on the floor, and it crawled up onto my shoe. That was a good time trying to get that off.
So by looking up at the smooth shape of the ceiling, who remembers the name of this room? Yell it out. The shoe room, very good. The toe, the arch, the heel, and a bunch of athlete's foot.
One cool thing about this place is how every tour is different. Usually people call this the shoe room. My tour, I would always call it the Egyptian room because the ceiling was Cleopatra's sandal. You would have Tut's tomb right over there. It's not illuminated, but that's the stage where she was standing on. And the Sphinx's nose right there. You'd think that's water dripping off of it, but it's not. We're going through the cloud room right now. Okay, I don't think you can see it on film, but there's another little dinosaur hidden in the cave there. That one looks like a velociraptor. Now I'm wondering wondering if I missed any. This is the corkscrew staircase. At least part of it. It gets worse. Hey, they changed the color of that light bulb. And there's a third dinosaur. And this is the Harold Bellwright passageway. Harold Bellwright would actually come down here and spend weeks at a time in the cave. He wrote part of The Shepherd of the Hills in here. Dinosaur number 4, there's a T-Rex. I'm gonna have to ask about this. What is it with these things? Coming up on the waterfall room right now. I've seen this room flooded all the way up to the ceiling. Okay, so here we are at the waterfall room. Some of the little rimstone pools there. The room itself is, I think, about 50 feet deep. I could be wrong, maybe it's 30. I've seen it flooded all the way up to that third stair right there. Whoa, they changed the lights in here too. This little room, I think, is called the Egyptian Grotto. Could be wrong, since it's been 20 years, and it's the something grotto. That was always a good place to see bats, but I don't see any today.
Welcome to the Mystic Pool Room, the highest room at the top of this passage, closest to the surface. They blasted a tunnel to the side of the hill and installed our cable tray. I said that quickly and easily, and it was neither of those things. Well, within a year of blasting that tunnel out to the train in, over 10 times the amount of people showed up for cave tours, which meant it didn't take long till there was another dilemma. Too many people to get through this cave. So they were trying to decide, how do we entertain people waiting to get in this cave? So we invited master craftsmen. Some of you may remember the old stagecoach ride. You got a few rides, and pretty soon, up top got so popular after decades of being modeled Cave Park, Missouri in 1960, it all became. And now you understand it all started because of the big hole in the ground.
Oh, it is still there. Up at the top of that little hill, there's some little buildings. That's what remains of a little town of Bethlehem that they carved out of clay one year for Christmas. And that thing was pretty old, even back in my day. I have no idea when they made that. Kind of cool it's still there. Remember how a couple of Silver Dollar City videos ago I said that Mystic River Falls was named after a river in the cave? That's it, the Mystic River. Dino number 5. I knew this was going to turn into a dinosaur hunting video, you guys. And that's Blondie's throne right there. Long story short, it's called that because a little blonde kid at one time got lost in the cave. They found him curled up sleeping at the base of this formation, which kind of looks like a dude sitting on a throne. Can you tell I'm a little bit winded from the stairs? I'm not in shape anymore, you guys. That whole way up there is where we're going. We made it through the huff and puff staircase, you guys. About 10 stories straight up, that's all. Don't forget to look up when you get to the top of that staircase. We're going into the elves' chamber. Here we are looking down on the top of Blondie's throne. Here we are. This is the elves' chamber. Last room on the tour. It is spectacular. There's where we just came from. That was that. Now it's train time.
So remember, this tunnel is not part of the cave. It was blasted out, so hopefully we don't have to turn around and climb up those 50 stories. Are you ready for blast off? Let's go down from the trees. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, blast off! Lean forward and say, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. As we emerge from the dark tunnel into the light of day, how about a big rock? We are emerging out of a tunnel on a 150-degree turn in a cable train that engineers said could not be done. Now, there's a counterbalance train. You notice there's a train coming down the hill and helps to pull up the weight of the cars. And then electric closing cable helps pull up the weight of the passengers.
There's a better shot of the train. The hoist room is inside the building that has the actual operations for the train. Definitely can't show you guys that, but it's pretty cool. Look, they have stuffed bats. And that was Marvel Cave. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm definitely going to have to go back. One thing, I still need to do Dave's tour. And for another thing, there is so much stuff that you guys did not find out about this cave on this tour. It would have been an 8-hour video if I would have mentioned everything in one trip. And while we're on this train, I think next week I'm gonna just keep going, do 3 caves in a row, and go to Onondaga. That way, I can have all 3 of my favorite cave tours right there in a row, while they're fresh on my mind for comparison. So I hope to see you guys then. Later! So walls are still I'm here! I actually thought I wasn't gonna make it today, you guys. It's about 3.5 hours away. I've had my tour booked for a week. It's at noon, and I was thinking 8:30, that'll give me plenty of time to drive over here, stop for breakfast, stop at the bank, and I'll have some time to wander around before going in the cave. You guys see an error in judgment there? I didn't. Not until about 8:15 this morning. I thought that was a snake at first. So I ran out the door, booked it over here, and somehow I made it. My timing wasn't the only thing trying to stop me. Went in for an oil change yesterday, and they couldn't rotate the tires because, and I quote, 2 of them were code red. Later on, I went back to get those fixed. And as it turns out, guess what? I actually needed 4 new tires. But at least I wasn't worried on the drive up now that I got those. Well, this is cool. I didn't know about that. Might have to check into doing that. And that one too. Okay, so this is how you do it. Pick up one of these little pamphlets, and man, I wish I would have known about this before, because this is cave tour number, I think, 9 this year, and I would have already been done. And it just means I'll have to go back. If you guys are planning on coming here, definitely give yourself enough time to check out the visitor center. And it's another one of those caves that has a whole little museum. I found a cat. Oh, I love these dioramas. Cute slogan there. Found a bobcat. I wonder if I have any teams. That penny is pretty tempting. They all are, but I'm talking specifically about the one with the bats. I didn't know that weasels were that small. Look at that compared to the otter. That's pretty cool. Have I ever seen a weasel in real life? Helictites. Oh, look at that. They're also called crazy straws. I forgot about that. I almost didn't look up there, but now that I saw this, I'm so glad I did. They have a whole jar full of gnome bones, you guys. That's hilarious.
So this cave was discovered back in 1886 by a man named Charles Christopher, and he was working for a grain mill at the time, and he was trying to figure out what body of water was powering this mill. So he was walking along this pond's edge, and he felt some really cold air coming out from underneath some rocks. And for some reason he thought, I should go in that hole. So he got out his John boat, and he actually had to lay completely flat on his back, and he pushed himself through his hands. And that's when he eventually came to a corridor down that way. And that's when he realized he just discovered a cave. So he then left and got 2 of his friends, and they got some equipment and started mapping out this cave together. We have no clue where this water is coming from. The cave gets too small and we're unable to continue exploring back there, so currently that's our greatest mystery within the cave. We do know that this water is flowing, and it pumps over 1 million gallons of water out a day. And when we look at it, it does appear to be stagnant, so that's all undercurrent that's flowing. And this water ranges from about 2 to 12 feet deep, and it's 57 degrees, so it's the same temperature as the air. And columns can be formed a couple different ways. Either stalagmite can grow all the way up, a stalactite can grow all the way down, or they might be in the middle and have a stalagmite.
There's a lot of pretty waterways in here. We're walking through some very impressive bits where we're not even stopping to talk. And honestly, you guys, I've been on so many cave tours lately where the group itself has tried to talk over the guide and been so loud. And this group is great. They're being so quiet that I'm nervous even talking into the camera.
Does anyone know the safest place to be during an earthquake?
A cave.
Yes, it is. So that is because all of those shock waves are taking place up at the surface of the earth, so everything down here is left undisturbed. If you look up here, you can also see how it has rolled up on our wall. And this is known as cave lid. And this is a hydrophobic bacteria. So think of it kind of like being waterproof. The water does not get absorbed, it stays on the outside. So that's why the light reflects off of it. If I put my flashlight away, you can no longer see that cave lid. And this is a really good type of bacteria, actually. They're working on making different vaccines and medicine from it. So hopefully something good will come out of that research.
And this is another one of those moments where my camera will not do this justice. We are coming up into a huge room, you guys.
So you might remember from our video, here we have the twins. As you can tell, they're not identical, they are the girls. And you'll see how this one has this nice long
and this is very creatively named the big room. And that is accurate. This is the second largest cave. This is the second largest room in a cave in Missouri. And actually fit an entire football field in this room as well. It's about 65 feet from where we're standing up to the ceiling. And what it means by having these very large ceilings is that water spent a longer period of time in this room. But we're gonna put our twins back to sleep if you'd like to tell them good night. Good night. And if you look right above this Walsh River, you will see the King's Canopy. And this is our largest example of flowstone in the cave. And it is currently dormant. You need a significant amount of water to flow on it to reactivate it. And at one point in time, it was completely attached to the wall behind it. And if you look on top of the King's Canopy, you'll see this concrete platform. And this is where they actually used to perform weddings in the cave. You can also notice there are no railings. So that might not have been the safest place to get married in here. We still have weddings in the cave, but instead we perform them over by the twins, where it's a little bit safer for people.
I love those little columns down there. I don't know why I say little. They look little from here, but they're far away.
So this is our hair room, and it just gets that name because the stalactites on the ceiling look like little hairs poking in from underground. And of course you can't have a hair room without a little bunny hole. And this goes down about 8 feet, and at the bottom of that hole is where the cave Sasquatch lives. If we touch anything in the cave, he will come out. You'll also notice that we have this crack along our wall over here, and as we know this cannot be due to an earthquake, this is actually due to something called cave settlement. And essentially this cave is on a very large bed of land, and approximately that clay is going to contract as they stand. And something that's a process of things can contract very quickly, and when that contraction happens, the water coming on top of it is not with it. And since these stalactites are so tight to the ceiling, they sit up there while the rest of the column got pulled down with that clay, causing it to break in half. You can also see we have some soda straws up here that are trying to glue us back together. It just takes them a really long time to do so. We have one back there that is just about an inch apart, so maybe 100 years or so. You'll also notice how this deposit is perfectly reflected in these pools below. And these are not natural, these were also put in by Lester Dill. You'll notice them throughout the entire cave. He liked how they reflected the rooms and made them appear a lot larger. And when the state took this cave over, they originally wanted to remove these pools out since they are not natural. But they realized that salamanders started using them as nurseries because it's still water with no predators. It's a really safe place for them to lay their eggs. You're also probably wondering, I'm in a cave, why don't I ask in the bath? And this is due to something called white nose syndrome. It came over from Europe in 2007 and it hit our cave back around 2013. And this is a type of fungus that makes bats really itchy. So they go into their hibernation and their metabolism shuts down so they no longer need to eat. But they end up itching so much that they wake themselves up in the middle of winter and they need to eat right away. So they end up leaving the cave, but at this time there's nothing for them to eat. So they unfortunately either starve or freeze to death, and that's where we're seeing this decrease in the bat population. Back in the day, you'd see anywhere from hundreds of thousands of bats in the Onondaga. This year, we did a census and only found 26 bats at Paul's Cave home. That's a huge decrease in those numbers. We are seeing that bats are slowly starting to make some adaptations. Just takes a really long time for those to take action fully. They have also made vaccines for white nose syndrome, but as you can imagine, it is not very easy to vaccinate bats. So that is not the most efficient way to be dealing with this.
Is this the first guide that's actually mentioned white nose syndrome, you guys? I know I mentioned it a little bit at Blanchard because they have that shoe wiping mat, but I don't think I've actually really gone into it. It's definitely a thing, though. That is why you want to wash your clothes, your shoes, after you go in any cave.
And here's where we have the bottom of the cave's canopy. You can see how it's hanging down unsupported. This is also the lowest section of the cave. We are currently 185 feet from the surface. And this is our second largest flowstone in the cave, and it is still active. So as long as that water is continuing to flow on it, it will continue to grow. And the next section we walk into is our living bathroom. And as you can see, we have a lot of ramps to walk up to get there. And if you look right below that It is just because we have that entrance. And this is not only the oldest section, but it's also the rarest section. These lily pads typically do not get to this size, so only 2 other caves in the world that even come close in comparison, and that is 2 caves in New Zealand. And that is because these lily pads need very specific conditions for the entire time they're forming. They need this still pool that is not changing height at any time. They need a stalagmite right at that water crest, and they need water to drip down on it. So what happens is you have this water droplet that falls right on top of that stalagmite and that water, and it creates a ripple. So instead of that mineral getting deposited on top of this stalagmite, it is getting deposited out in the ripple. And each time another droplet comes through, it grabs onto that last ripple, slowly getting larger and larger. But if this water level were to shift by rising and lowering at any point, that new water droplet can then grasp onto that last ripple, stopping the growth period. And that's why it's very easy for it to shift very quickly and stop growing. So that is the last section of the cave that I have to show you. So we're going to be walking back down these ramps to the steady you're holding onto that railing. And we'll be heading out of the cave the same as we came into it.
That one is gonna be hard to edit, you guys. Usually, I have a lot more narration than I do good cave footage, but I think this time it just might be the other way around. It makes so much of a difference when you get a really good tour group too. The last 2 I went on, you guys, I seriously didn't even know if I was gonna be able to edit those. And I got my stamp. I still cannot believe I didn't know about this before today. How could I miss that, you guys? Could have had it done 3 times by now this year alone. I am halfway thinking about stopping by Smallin and Marvel on the way home just so that I can get that today. They know I've been there. They'll stamp it, right? Got something from the gift shop too. I've actually been looking for this for a couple of weeks now. Can you guys hear the air conditioning? It's 102 in the car. Woohoo! Now it's time to drive 3.5 hours home. At least I have good tires. I'm roughly 50 miles from home now. There are 2 places on I-44 that I always stop at. It's tradition, and this is one of them. There's a ton of candy in here, you guys. Shoot, you guys, I just realized I forgot to see if they had a lapel pin a while ago. Usually I end up with a big bag full of taffy when I come here. I don't know about today though. A whole row of Pez dispensers. They even have Mario and Luigi. Cotton candy in just about every flavor you can think of, including maple bacon. I didn't think I'd ever see that flavor of cotton candy. Seriously? Oh my gosh, they even have hot pickle. That is hilarious. Man, they have everything in these things. Man, look at all this candy, you guys. I'm starting to realize I don't think I've eaten anything today. Oh, hey, I've been wanting to try this stuff. I've seen it on 2 or 3 different vlogs this year. I'd never heard of it before. Love trying all these novelty sodas. That one's not exactly a novelty, but I'd still never seen it before. Ooh, black olive? I mean, I love black olives, but ugh. Pretty proud of myself, you guys. I only made it out with 2 things, the cheer wine and this popcorn, because lemon blueberry, I could not pass that up. Normally, I'm not much of a sweet popcorn fan, but like I said, I've not eaten much today. Okay, let's test this puppy out. I approve. Tastes like black cherry, and I love cherry, so yeah, I would definitely get it again. I am gonna stop by one more place. Right next door to the candy shop is the world's largest gift store. Reminds me more of a flea market, really. I mean, socks alone. We have booth of socks, booth of socks, and booth of socks. It matches my t-shirt. Pretty much have a whole wall of Bob Ross socks alone. I've actually been looking for a pair that have balloon animals on it. If I can't find them here, they just probably don't exist. Holy crap, they have them. Yes. Now my balloon twisting outfit will be complete. Wahaha. Man, I'm glad I stopped in here now. I've been looking for this for over a year. I found a big random cat. I think he's half giraffe. Look at how long that neck is. You like wind chimes? They got a whole room full of them. And some garden stuff back here. Are you kidding me? They also have the lava lamp that I've been looking for years to replace my old one that broke. I cannot spend that much today, though. I just bought new tires. Holy crap, you guys. They were out of this at Blanchard the other day, and I'm kind of glad now. It's about $4 cheaper here. Just for reference here, I'm going to show you guys how big this place really is. Look at that, one end to the other. This really is kind of like a Walmart-sized gift shop. Oh, I love these lights. This actually kind of reminds me of one I had as a kid. This is not the only booth of puzzles. Pretty sure they have more puzzles in this place than the actual puzzle store at home. I haven't seen any of those little 3D crystal puzzles, though. I'm looking for the pyramid shape of those. I didn't know they still made Mad Libs. Man, I used to do these things all the time as a kid. It was a good road trip activity. Probably why they have them here. Dark crystal metal lunchbox. Awesome. Oh, if they had a Fraggle Rock, you guys. Oh no, you guys. I kind of collect playing cards too. I'm seeing some that I like. I mean, come on, look at this. I'm probably gonna skip the cards today since I'm getting the bat. Those are tempting. Look at that, they have 2 different sets of Bob Ross playing cards. That is cool. Well, never mind, they do have the 3D crystal puzzles, but do they have the pyramid? These things are really addicting, you guys. They have a lot of Snoopies, a lot of Disneys too. I didn't know they had little aliens. Whoa, they have Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Hey, Rummikub. Used to have that game as a kid. I didn't know they still made it. They have another giraffe cat. Oh, look at how friendly that old guy is. Apparently, give yourself time if you're gonna go in there. I just spent an hour on what was supposed to be a really quick 5-minute walkthrough. My chair wine's still cold though. I have no idea how that happened, but I'm not mad at it. Well, I still have a ways to drive, but I think that's gonna do it for today. Thank you guys for coming along on another one of my absolute favorite cave tours. And stay tuned, I'll see you next week. And this is me turning around because I just completely passed the interstate trying to do that outro. I guess it's been about a week or 2 since I got lost in a video. Had to happen.